That's the best I can do for intro music right now, seeing as how I am just going live to tape, live to digital tape right here on the YouTubes. Hello, everyone that's showing up now or is showing up most likely much, much later, which is totally fine with me. Get rid of this bad boy. I don't need that. Hi, it's Al Adam Knight. I am still working out of my basement studio office. I've managed to get rid of the light over here behind me, so at least I'm not going to be blinding everybody as you're trying to go in behind me. Oh, there you go, Ken. Hello, Ken Knapsack. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate you, buddy. I see you in the live chat. I can see the live chat. That's cool. I've never done this before. So, hi. Welcome to officially episode 1 of Outlaw Radio. Yes, we're on YouTube. Yes, this is sort of a vlog. And yes, this isn't really radio, but, well, like I keep saying, I keep saying to people in my life outside of wrestling, I got into college to get into radio. And I did that for, that's why I went to Red River, because I wanted to get into radio and I wanted to do this sort of thing. I wanted to be able to take what's on the dome and speak it out into the world. Because at the end of the day, as I sit here, with 30 years of professional wrestling experience and all the other stuff that I've done, writing books, being a fully grown man, having a real job and all that other stuff, at some point in time, I'm going to slow down and I want to have a creative outlet. So here I am. And here we are. So if you showed up last week or over the last week and took a look at my short little episode 0, thank you. I really appreciate that. It meant the world to me to sort of rip the Band-Aid off and just get some thoughts out into the world and to sort of announce the presence that I'm doing this. For the time being, I'm just going to do it like this, sort of one-on-one. If you saw the posts I made, all 12 of you or so, and you sent some cues for me to today, which I'm going to do. I'll do that in a little bit. Thank you. That's sort of going to be the format, I think, for a little while as to what I want to do here. If there's enough interest, hopefully, and if there's enough people that give a darn, then I'm going to try to make this a little bit more formal, like I said. I have a lot of people I'd like to speak to. Not necessarily interview. I don't really want to do interviews, but I know tons of people in the local film industry. Obviously, I know tons of wrestlers. I know quite a few people in the literary and the publishing world. I'd like to speak to them. I've got a whole different group of people that I'd love to chat with that I think you'd love to hear us chat. So that's going to be the goal. We're not going to do that just yet. For now, this is just going to be me and you, and we're going to talk. Okay, we're going to talk. And every now and then, I'm going to need to wet my whistle. So it's not a buzzball can. I'm sorry, that's not my style. But I do have a lovely Diet Dr. Pepper. I'm sure I'm not going to get any sponsorship for that, but I would indeed like to be a pepper too. So it's a sign of my age. In case my thinning and completely gray hair wasn't enough for the sign of my age. So here's what we're going to do today. I put out a request on Discord, on my little channel, on Ken's Discord. Thank you for that. And, of course, on my Facebook and a couple other places looking for questions that I figured 30 years of pro wrestling, I am the best goddamn heavyweight champion in all of Canada. Suck it, Andy Anderson. Suck it, Giant Orion. I am here, and I would like to talk a little bit about wrestling. Since that seems like, like I said, we're going to begin at the beginning, living on the edge. Oh, my God. So much caffeine, kid. So much caffeine. And it's 0 calories, too. So since I'm doing a 16-8 fast, I can get away with this. Anyways. So here's what we're going to do. I put out the call for some questions. Again, so we're going to, beginning at the beginning, which is what we're trying to do here today. 1995... which is a long time ago, is the year after I graduated high school. I was bumming around in university and wasn't having a lot of success with it, wasn't having a lot of joy in it, wasn't really doing anything that filled my soul. And through the friends I met there, Chad, Jay, a whole bunch of you guys, we got into the local wrestling scene here in Winnipeg, the original version of River City Wrestling, which is on the old video on cable, Channel 11. Back when we only had like certain channels. It was local community access. And I remember September of 1995 going to the infamous Chalmers Community Center where I saw my first independent live wrestling show ever. obviously wrestling fan my whole life. My dad used to be a vendor at the old barn here in Winnipeg, the old Winnipeg Arena. So I got to sneak in to see some old AWA stuff when I was very young. I certainly saw, man, what was the main event? I remember early 90s main event. My brother and I went with my dad to go watch Kerry Von Erich and the Ultimate Warrior take on Rick Rude and Mr. Perfect. Wow. And then none of those guys are with us anymore. Anyways, I've been a wrestling fan forever and a day. Watched it on and off over the course of years, but got into it because I was a big dude. I was at a particular point in my life where punishing myself seemed to be a good thing. University wasn't floating my boat, and I was lost. I was really, really lost. And the thought of being able to get into a professional wrestling ring and survive had a lot of appeal to me. It seemed to be the exact type of challenge I needed at that point in my life to get me going, to give me some pushback. So I've spoken about this stuff before, but that's where the beginning starts. Obviously, from there, I first trained under, Vince Nevada and Robbie Royce. Shout out to both of you guys. The longest day of my life ever when Brian Jewell showed up and kicked the bejesus out of me for an entire afternoon to help me sort of get over the hump of stuff I wasn't figuring out very well. From there, River City Wrestling dissolved, became the Canadian Wrestling Federation, which dissolved, which turned into a bunch of different things. Became Top Rope Championship Wrestling under Bobby J, which then became Premier Championship Wrestling under a couple other people, and so on and so forth over the course of time. During that time, I've been something of a staple here in Winnipeg Wrestling, fine, Central Canadian Wrestling. I've had the privilege and the honor of traveling through the Midwest of the United States. Sorry, Ice, I'm not going to do that anytime soon. Suck it. You can't get me here. Ooh. I just got shadow bad. Anyways, yeah, it was a great match, Ken. You're not wrong. So I've had the privilege of going across most of Canada. I've got feelers out all across the countryside, across North America, which is lovely. I've got contacts with Cauliflower Alley Club, a lot of the veterans, the true legends there of our industry that I've had the privilege and the pleasure to wrestle with, get to know, communicate with. And obviously I've had a stint, got a cup of coffee or a sip of soda, if you will, in the land of the rising sun in Japan, where at a stint in the All Japan Dojo. It didn't go very well for me, but I want to still shout out Johnny Devine and Scott Demore for giving me the opportunity to go over there and blow up my knee. And then, of course, thank you to Tajiri-san for having me come back when you were running the Smash promotion in Japan for a little while. I had a very short run there, but it was awesome. And I love the people of Japan. I'd love to go back. Anyways, this point in my career, as I get to be more of a mentor and more of a trainer with the team at Blaze Pro Wrestling here in Winnipeg, and all the other guys and girls that come through the territory, I still have the honor of being able to get in there and trying to, entertain the crowds as best I can with his aging old body, and still do a damn fine job if I do say so myself. But it's been a heck of a run. Not done yet, but for the foreseeable future, I will carry that strap with pride. And of course, I left it upstairs and I should have brought it down, but I guess I didn't want to be a mark with a belt on a live stream. It's not quite being a complete incel, but kind of close. Look how cool I am with my belt and my hat and all of my accomplishments. I guess I could have got my books and T-shirts out as well, but I'll leave those for another time. Anyways, let's get really started. That's a little bit about me if you don't know who I am. If you do know who I am, great. Thank you for being here for it. I really, really appreciate it, and I hope you're learning something new every day here. And if it's just you, Ken, I appreciate that too, buddy. So let's get started. I did get a couple of quick questions here, and I'm going to try to answer them, not necessarily in order. I'm going to pick a couple here. I'm going to start with a question from all the way from the United Kingdom, from Mr. James Holmes. He's from Ken's Blathering and Force Center community, and I really appreciate him giving me a place to start here, which has been really great. So yes, I'll keep the belts with the ring. I appreciate you, Ken. You're really keeping this live going. James Holmes, the United Kingdom, who I hope is listening to this later, and thank you for helping me out, buddy, asked me, what is the weirdest storyline I've ever been involved in? Now, obviously, today in the wrestling marketplace, we refer to them as storylines. I'm an old school guy from the 90s, so we just call them angles. What's the angle we got going on here? And there's been some doozies. There have been some real doozies. But one that I enjoyed, though at the time I felt a little weird about it, was under the booking of one Mr. Don Callis. Yes, of the Don Callis family. Which reminds me, I should watch the highlights of AEW later tonight. I do want to see Blood and Guts. Anyways, he was booking for Tony Candelo at the time and also Nelson Mayer. They were running, I believe it was the Indigenous Wrestling Association, trying to get TV and more going. And we were drawing some really good crowds actually for a while there. He had brought in, fresh off his run in FMW in Japan, Dr. Luther, who was doing a very gothic pseudo-vampire gimmick. Laser, thank you for showing up, buddy. I appreciate that. Thank you for joining the party. What was I saying? So he'd brought in Dr. Luther with the idea of him being obviously the top heel who needed a stable of guys around him, guys and girls. And since Dr. Luther was doing this crazy pseudo-vampire gothic group, he had to have a group of oddities around him. So he had my buddy, wrestling icon from Alberta, Steve Rivers. He had some weird gimmick that I can't remember the name of, but it was definitely, it had the long hair and looked like a crazy psychopath person. We had a little person, if you will, who was running around in, his black jeans with like duct tape all over his nipples. Pro wrestling in the 90s, folks. We had another little guy that was sort of the high flyer of the group, and I was their beef, their muscle. They put me in a big black hood and skimpy black trunks, which was not a very good look for me then or now, but especially not then in my skinny, fat late 90s days, but that's all right. And so that was interesting. Working as Dr. Luther's gimp, if you will, and being put out in tag matches and being put out in crazy scenarios. There were times where I wasn't super comfortable with it, and I certainly felt like I was being taken advantage of because of my body or my look or whatever. But I look back on that now and go, even though that was a weird period, what it gave me was a ton of experience that I didn't realize at the time, because we were doing TV tapings for like 6 hours at a shot. So I was in segments, 2 or 3 segments a night. I was doing multiple matches every show. I was constantly working with top guys who had tons of experience from all over the world, and I just didn't realize it at the time. Working as Dr. Luther's gimp, I got to work with Bad News Allen. I got to work with the Sandman. I got to work with Mikey Whipwreck, Jerry Lynn. Oh, God. There was a big giant guy who worked in Puerto Rico whose name I don't remember. He and I didn't get along, but that's okay. I worked with so many great people as a result of that bit that it instilled in me a sense of confidence that I didn't realize that was even there for many, many years to come. So I was very glad in the last decade or so I got to run into Don again before an AEW show, I think, and got to sit down and actually thank him. Thank you for giving me this skinny, fat kid who only had a couple years in the business at that time, the opportunity to get in the ring with all of these people, to gain some experience, to gain some reps, and to work with some different people. So, James Holmes, what is the weirdest angle I've been involved with? Working alongside Dr. Luther and all of those guys back in the late 90s. I want to say 98, 99. That was a long, long time ago. All right. Well, since you're in the chat here, along with some of the others there, Austin, good to see you, buddy. Thank you for asking these questions. I don't know if I'm going to get to them all because there's a lot of questions here, but I will answer a couple before we go. Austin asked, just so you know, is a courageous young man here in Manitoba who comes in very regularly to train from up north. Doesn't live in the city proper. He lives up, I want to say, is it the Paw? Anyways, he's a ways away. So when he has to make the commitment to drive in to be part of events and to get his training in, and I applaud him for the hard work that he puts in. He's dedicated a lot of time into thinking about how he wants to present himself, and that is to be applauded. He's got other things he has to work on, but we all do. We all do. But I want to say I really do appreciate that off the top. So, Austin asked me a couple of questions. So I'm going to see what I can do to answer them as best I can. First one Austin asked me is, when does a wrestler know when they are ready to full-on bet on themselves in this business or any business? Thompson, shit. Sorry, Austin, I was close, but you're way up there. You're way up there for me. It's a long ways away. Sorry, your question was, when does a wrestler know when they're ready to go full-on bet on themselves? As I sit here at 49 years old, with 30 years of wrestling business behind me, with 4 published novels, a whole bunch of self-tape auditions I've been doing for the film industry and more, and finally just pulling the trigger and quit my job. I did do that. That was a scary thing. I did that for health reasons and at the insistence of my family more than anything else. But I don't want to say I'm finally at the point where I'm full-on betting on myself, because that's not really the case. What I'm doing is I'm trying to reevaluate myself going forward for the future, whether that's doing more creative stuff or finding new work, whatever it ends up being, right? So what I'm saying is that I'm probably not the best guy to ask. There are probably points in my life when I was 25, 30, 35, where I could have pulled that trigger and I could have bet on myself and I would have known. I also give myself the benefit of the doubt because I look back at that and here's some grace. When I started, the internet wasn't a thing. I didn't have this option to be able to reach out and talk to people. I wasn't able to network in the same way. I still literally have VHS tapes of promo reels and promo matches that I would use to ship off to places to try to get booked. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. I did send enough tapes to WWF headquarters that they did end up giving me a couple of tryouts or dark matches at the time. So I'll take that. That's what it was. I didn't have a dark match, but I certainly was extra talent, and that's okay. The point is that I come from a generation where I didn't have the tools, or I didn't have enough people around me to give me the tools to let me know what the next step was. So I don't really know. Today, I would say you have more tools at your disposal and more people that you can ask that can give you a better handle on it. But at the end of the day, man, it all comes down to the same thing. If you get to a point in your life, in your head, where you realize there is nothing else you want to do, there's nothing else that excites you or gets the heartbeat going the way it needs to do, and you've got the freedom financially, if you've got the freedom personally, like no real emotional or family commitments that are holding you back, if you're in a position where you can take the gamble and make the bet on yourself, and you feel like your work is good, your look is good, and you have enough context to get started, then just get started, man. The biggest thing I've learned as an old man is that the only people holding us back from the things we really want to do are ourselves, right? And 9 times out of 10, we never get anything done because we never start. I finally published my first novel, Cowboy Ending, back in 2013, even though I'd had the idea and been fucking around with it 5 years before that. But I did it because my daughter was about to be born, and I realized, well, I was going to run out of time to fuck around with it. So I gave a hard 6 months to putting it together, getting it edited, and getting it up online and getting it out there. And the trick to finishing anything or accomplishing any of the goals that you have in your life is just to start and to not worry about the outcome. So when you're ready to start. And you won't have all the answers, and you won't know the path, and you won't know what sort of obstacles you're going to face along the way. But as long as you know that starting is important, then start. And try to enjoy the process, right? Isn't that what everyone says? You got to enjoy the process in life. Because if you're not enjoying the process, then there's no point in doing anything. Then everything's just a slog and it sucks. And we all have enough things in life that suck and that are out of our control. So I will answer one of your questions, Austin, and I'll move on to somebody else here. You asked me, what is something I learned from helping train the students at Blaze Pro Wrestling? Well, I've been helping mentor and train guys for, probably 15, 20 years off and on along the way, because that's part of the process, right? Whatever I learn, I try to pass on to somebody else and pass on to somebody else. I learn the same thing from them that I learn all the time, and that is, selfishly, I've still got something left to give. Again, gray hairs falling out, bad knees, pushing 50. It's a lot, right? It's a lot, but I still got something left to give. And when I see that light go off in somebody's eyes in the ring, where they've connected something I'm telling them to something that I need them to do, that's powerful. That's powerful to me, and I hope it's powerful to you guys too. The progress I've seen everybody make in the last year when we were able to train every week has been palpable. It's been really palpable. I've really enjoyed it. It's been awesome to see how far all of you have come. Now, you've all got a long way to go still. We all do. But I want you to take pride in this fact, and I know I've said this in the locker rooms, and I'll say it here live on YouTube. And for anybody who's hate watching this, or is going to rip me apart or call me an idiot later, who's part of some of the competing brands locally, we all know who you guys are. Please remember, the hard work that everybody at Blaze Pro Wrestling has put in the last year has allowed us to sell out shows consistently. Yes, the business is hot right now. Yes, everyone wants a piece of pro wrestling right now. That's great. But they're coming to see you guys. They're coming to see me. They're coming to see you. They're coming to see Candy Chaos. They're coming to see Billy Blaze. They're coming to see everybody. And that's because you guys are putting a lot of hard work. You got the word out. And when they showed up, they paid their money. They had such a great time. They keep paying their money, and they keep coming back. Okay? So selfishly, I get the satisfaction of seeing all of you succeed. Okay? Last show we did, I watched the first half of the show and with a huge smile on my face, because I was so happy to see everyone's progress. And to watch and listen to the crowd react to you guys. Like, pro wrestling is for everybody. It's not about me. It's about what the people are getting out of it. If the people are getting satisfaction watching you guys, I couldn't ask for anything more. Thank you, Austin. I appreciate all your hard work, and I appreciate your questions. I'm going to move on to somebody else after I have another fine sip of this delightful beverage. And that's probably some terrible ASMR, but whatever. All right. So the sheriff, Mr. Chris Butt, has asked a couple of questions here. Chris is one of our trainees and also a staple of of our locker room. Much like me, is a gentleman of a certain age who's getting a chance to, live out a bit of a dream, but also at the same time, added as part of his resume as he also works as a peace officer. So I have all kinds of respect for you, Chris, and I want to thank you for all the hard work you do in the community and for us here at Blaze Pro, but also just in general. You're a solid dude, and I appreciate the hard work you put in working with these guys. Chris asked a couple of questions, and first thing he asked is, with all that I have done and accomplished, it's questionable whether that's true or not, with all that I've done and accomplished, what is one of the things I am the most proud of? And the answer is my daughter. I know I said I'd keep this on wrestling, but the fact is, I've got a beautiful, smart, intelligent, caring, and empathetic little girl who I don't get to spend as much time with as I'd like, but who is loving and sweet, and I think the world of her. And anything I do in this world is not as important as she is. So, yeah, mushy, mushy, mushy. True all the same. What is left on my list to do and accomplish? And if you mean in wrestling, the answer is I want to finish my career on my own terms. I want to leave the industry as whole and as hearty as I can. Right? Too many people don't get a chance to call their own number, to call their own shot, if you will. They're just done when they're done. Right? Finally they've turned the wrong way, something bad has happened to them, and they're not able to keep going. I don't want to be that guy. I've had great luck. I want to continue to have great luck as I knock on some wood. And I want to I want to leave the business better, and I found it, which is the thing that everybody says. But in my case, I also want to leave it when I'm ready and when I'm still able to deliver. I don't want to be that guy who's completely relying on smoke and mirrors as he gets out there. And there's enough of those guys to do that. And if I am doing that, I need somebody to tell me, because for the love of God, I may not have the perspective on it anymore. So thank you for that one. So 2 good questions, Chris. Your third one is kind of similar to some of the stuff I said from Austin about advice how to give young guys breaking into the business. So I've already kind of answered that one, so I'll sort of leave it as is for now. So now I will finish with little questions that you gave me, Billy Blaze. Billy is, I just want to, before I answer Billy's questions, I'm going to blow smoke up Billy's ass because he needs to hear it. I've been doing this for 30 years. Billy's been doing this over 20. When I first met Billy Blaze, I didn't know much about him. He was a young guy making his way with a couple of different groups and a couple of different kids that we never really crossed paths, and that is a damn shame. Billy's grown into a fine man who works really, really hard. He's very committed to his family, first and foremost, and committed to his wrestling company second. And the work that he and Desiree and his family have all done to get Blaze Pro Wrestling off the ground, to turn it into a fun, family-filled organization that I'm proud to bring my kid to, that I'm proud to invite my friends to, and that I'm proud to be a part of at this point in my life, is second to none. Plus, he's one of my favorite guys to wrestle. I don't have very many guys my size that I can go toe-to-toe with. I don't have that many guys I can just get in the ring with and just completely go on the fly with. I love you, Billy. I wish you could have gotten out in the world a lot more than you had. And my God, I wish we'd locked up a lot more when we were younger. We'd have killed this country with the type of matches we could have done. But here we are now. We're gonna, gonna strap up the knees and we're gonna keep going. But just so you know, I want to get that on the record and on video. Somebody clip that out and send it to him, okay? Billy asked me a couple of quick questions. So, what inspired Adam Knight to become Adam Knight? Because he knows what I started as, which is a fun way of saying, of course, I had other gimmicks and names before I was the Outlaw Adam Knight. And the answer to that is, when you first start out, you're just given what you're given and you sort of shut the fuck up about it and you put up with it, right? I'm sure Ken Knapsack wasn't always referred to as Tex Tunney when he was out there doing his stuff. And I'm sure that we all were given, terrible names when we first got in. Isn't that right? Dirty Dick Puller. You know who you are. When I was given the opportunity to rebrand myself, which I took full advantage of in 99, was it Steve Stryker and some buddies were trying to start up, and they were trying to do a different group at the time, an offshoot from the Canadian Wrestling Federation. So, a lot of young guys in the 90s who thought they were, WCW taking on the WWF, and all of it was just a bunch of ego maniacs, and we didn't try anyway. But I had the opportunity to rebrand myself. Previously, Chad Ripley, my partner, and I, we'd been tagging up, but we'd been doing a fraternity brothers, frat packy, bunch of pussy, prissy boy, university boy gimmicks. And that sucked. So when we were given the chance to rebrand ourselves, it was late 90s, it was gothic, and, vampire shit was very cool and dark and broody and Blade. But we had a chance to rebrand ourselves, and so we did. We formed a different tag team. We called ourselves Millennium. Made sense. It was 1999, so cheers. But we had a chance to change our names, and so we did. And I wanted to have something that represented a little bit more about me. So Adam is my middle name, my legal middle name. You can Google the rest, but it is my legal middle name. Knight, with a K, a Knigget, Knight, comes obviously from my obsession with all things, swords and sorcery, Robin Hood era fantasy stuff, King Arthur, Lancelot Guinevere shit, and of course, let's be real, my love of Star Wars and Jedi Knights. So Adam Knight just made sense. It rolled for me. As time went on, and I got away from doing tag stuff and was sort of in and out of a couple of different gimmicks, and life changed for me. Once I started going a little bit more Western, which wasn't my original plan. I did have a stint as a singing cowboy. Hello there, Roy Rogers, but I did get to do that gimmick for a while. When I was able to transition away from going a little darker on my own a few years later under the Premier Championship Wrestling banner, I really wanted to go Outlaw Josie Wales. I really wanted to go Outlaw Ron Bass. I really wanted to get very Stan Hansen-y. I really wanted to add that edge and that grit to my presentation. My natural inclination is to make fun of myself and be very gregarious and out there and funny. Having the chance to really dial down and get a little more aggressive was really appealing to me, and I really wanted to add that to my game. And so yeah, that's where Outlaw Adam Knight comes from. Solanges. Being 30 years in the pro wrestling business, what keeps me going? A535, ice packs, and Diet Dr. Pepper. And because I love it. I'm going to do this until I don't love it anymore. And that's ultimately what it comes down to. Now we're getting down to the fun questions. Again from Billy. We all have top three matches. What are yours? I've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of matches. I couldn't pick three. I couldn't say that these were three objectively my best. I'm not even sure they're my favorites. But here are three that I was thinking about that may not be ones that you would have thought of. My Japanese debut for Smash Wrestling versus Akira Nogami. That was 2010, 2011. The match is online. I can link it up later if you want. When I was going to do that match, I remember thinking that might be my last match because I'd blown out my knee in Japan 2 years before and kind of felt humiliated, felt like a failure and didn't know why I was even doing it anymore at that point in time. So getting the opportunity to go back and have a World Trialto match against a Japanese cruiserweight legend was awesome, and I didn't know what to make of it. So I remember taking that flight out there, meeting everybody, and just saying, no matter what happens, I'm just going to do the best I can, and it'll be what it's going to be. And I was fully prepared in that moment to go, sellout crowd, I'm in Japan, and I'm going to see how I feel at the end of it. And I thought for sure I was going to come back and hang up my boots and call it a career. And we went out. We had a good little match. The crowd was really into it. Was it the greatest match of all time? No, of course not. But I came to the back. Everyone was very happy. Tajiri-san and all of his sponsors and stuff were shaking my hand, saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. They offered me a contract to return on the spot. And I had that fire lit under my ass again, and I just knew, fuck no, I ain't done. And it wasn't. I'm still standing. So that's one. I know I've got this match on tape, and I'm going to have to dig it out of one of these boxes eventually because I used to have it up online, and it is gone now. Somewhere around 2005, 2006, Darren the Bomb Dalton and I were feuding over the Premier Championship Wrestling heavyweight title at the infamous Stratosphere, the Lid, if you will, in South Winnipeg. And we had a blow-off match. We had a lumberjack match. And people would say, why would you pick a lumberjack match? It's weird. I loved the idea of taking a match that in the mid-2000s, early mid-2000s, was kind of passé and crap, and everyone thought, this sucks, and everybody's seen this before. Why are we doing this? I liked it because I liked the challenge of trying to involve the lumberjacks in a way that actually added to the story as opposed to just the standard, heel is the chicken shit doesn't want to go out, and the baby face is going to go out and get beaten up by the heels. I didn't want that. I really loved the build of having the lumberjacks out there because we had our match. The lumberjacks were there. They were cheerleading. They were keeping us going. But I really wanted to make sure that earlier in the night, in a previous match, something had happened where some heels had beaten up some baby faces and they were forced to leave. So as they came back, as our match was going on, there was a justification for why the lumberjacks are suddenly having a Pier 6 brawl and dispersing and leaving the ringside area. And maybe I remember the match more fondly than it actually was, but to me, Dalton and I have had bloodbaths. He and I have tagged up against the Legion of Doom. We've gone all over Canada and Midwest. We've had a really, really, really good run. But one of the most fun matches that I enjoyed, that I think the crowd enjoyed more than anybody else, was that lumberjack match. And I love you for it, Darren. That was a really good time. And I apologize as my furnace going off in the background, but whatever. I'll get soundproofing things around here eventually. This is still very raw. We're having a Wednesday night raw version of this thing. Oh God, 35 minutes. All right. I'm going to answer this last question, then I'm going to wrap it up for the night. And thank you, all two of you that are still with me. Appreciate it. And anybody that joins up later. Billy Blaze's last question to me is, if I had the chance to face off with any active wrestler, who would it be? Now, the temptation to say John Cena, because I'd love that payday, is huge. Doesn't really make any sense. At the risk of being obvious, Kenny Omega. I love Kenny. Obviously, I've told the story. I've known him since he debuted. His skinny little kid in his Hawaiian outfit, his Hawaiian flower outfits. He was special from the beginning, and we all knew it. We all knew it. So watching him ascend to the heights he's at is astounding and in no way a surprise. I am so thankful to know him. I would not say we are friends. I would not say we are close. But I am grateful for the time I've had a chance to spend in a ring with him, in a training center with him. I am grateful for him for opening the door for me to get a chance to be on AEW Dark a couple years ago. Yeah, I sent it to myself, but he opened the door. Let's call it like it is. And getting a chance to go out and do another extra work for AEW in Regina a few months after that, I've really appreciated his friendship. I've appreciated his talent. He is still one of the greatest in the world. But more importantly, he's a good man. So yeah, if I had my druthers, I'd like one more match with him. It'll never happen, and that's okay. And we're on different paths, but there we go. Alrighty. I put in almost 40 minutes here. Thank you guys very much for those of you that showed up, for all of your questions. Billy, Chris, Austin, James, I really appreciate that. Ken, thank you for showing up. Laserbolt, if you're still here, thank you for showing up as well. I'm going to try to do this every week, like I said. Schedule depending, but this is the goal right now. I want to try to do this every week. I'd love to build this audience in this community if I could. I do have a Discord channel. You can find it out there. Just go to Discord and search Outlaw Night. I'm there. Please follow me on Instagram, Outlaw Night. I'm on BlueSky at Outlaw AK, shockingly enough. It's the first time you're seeing me. Thank you very much. If you're never coming back, appreciate it. There are links in the description of this video below. Thank you, buddy. I see your comment. I appreciate you, lurkers. I appreciate you, 8984M. You're a good man. You're a good person. All of you are great. I really appreciate it. Please check the links in the description. You can see links to my Pro Wrestling Tees page. You can check out my books. Check out some of my reviews on Amazon. See if that's something you're interested in. I am hoping to get the 4th book of my Overdrive series out by the end of January. I really need to crack down and buckle into some writing on that, but life has been interesting, and I'm trying to make the most of all of my opportunities now going forward. Next week, we're not going to do a wrestling chat. I would like to talk about writing. I'd like to talk about books. I'd like to talk about the things that inspire me in the literary and the creative world, and more. So I'm going to put a post up in the next day or two, and I'm going to ask for feedback. So if there's anything you want me to talk about in the terms of, like, some of my favorite books, authors that I've met, authors that I'd like to meet, stories, articles, whatever, I'm going to open the door wide for any of those sorts of things. So if that's something you're interested in, please leave some chat, some questions and ideas, so we can all work on this together. I really want this to turn into a thing where we work on together. It is Outlaw Radio. It's sort of a vlog, but thank you for being here. Thank you for checking this out later. If this has been something you've really enjoyed, please tag and share it to all your friends. If this is something you have not enjoyed, now is the time for quiet. And I like some quiet contemplation. And you're great. Thank you. Talk to you later.